Hello, I've just got back from a few days away on the East Cape, a beautiful location in New Zealand's North Island. Of course, being in a different location meant I was keen to take photographs and see if I could add an outstanding image to my portfolio. So this video is about travel photography, what you can do when you're moving from place to place with time constraints in each location and needing to make the most of the weather conditions. The reason I was in the East Cape was to be a support vehicle driver for a 4-day cycle tour. The first day was a washout. It rained all day and the light was very dull. So I'm just out here on the East Cape bike tour helping out. Haven't taken any photos today. It's been wet and windy all day, pretty much like this really. Plus we're scrambling to get people here after flights were cancelled and delayed. And people ended up all over the country. Also I'm helping out as a driver, so my first job was to help people get going, get started. But beautiful country. It's going to be much better tomorrow for photography. I'm looking forward to that, even just right where our accommodation is. Step out the door and lots of potential. Sometimes it's best just to have a break from the camera and wait until conditions improve. You can photograph in the rain if you have a raincoat for your camera or even a plastic bag, and an umbrella for the lens is quite handy, and also plenty of dry lens cloths. The second day was much better. Now let's see what we can get here. So first we'll have a bit of a walk around. So this tree here in front of me, really interesting. I might be able to get a shot of that, but pretty hard to make a appealing composition. It's just its backdrop's pretty tight. Different lighting, this tree on the left here, right on the coast, would be quite interesting. It's a little bit too high contrast at the moment, but this tree here looks really nice. Quite nicely lit too. Shows some interesting coastline. Part of the tricky bit is getting up high enough. Yeah, this is quite good. I get quite a sense of depth going back through the layers of the rocks and the sea. The stand of trees about 150, 200 meters away, and then the cliff. So this, I would definitely take a shot here and make it into a panorama. Could be quite good. Maybe I'll come back here in the morning and see what the morning light gives me. I can sort of see shots everywhere here. It's a really beautiful area. We don't get these trees in the island, but I live in the South Island, or they're very rare, more in this part of the country. So I find them quite a novelty. Really beautiful trees. If you can, when you get to a location, have a walk around and take a mental note of promising compositions. Pick the best composition and start with that first to avoid being overwhelmed by the choices. So factor lighting in. If you're going to lose lighting in a composition, then you may need to make that composition your priority. Alternatively, if you can see that the light is going to change soon and make a particular composition stand out, then be ready for it. Sometimes the sun might only pop out for a minute or two, so be watching for that. And as you're arriving at a location where you're staying for the night, take a note of promising areas that you can drive back to, within 10 or 20 minutes. So the morning of the third day, I had limited time in the morning before I had to help the cyclists leave. So I went back to a location I was at the previous night. I knew it already, and I knew that the morning light would make the compositions in the area quite different. Also, put yourself in the image if you feel it would add a point of interest or give a measure of scale, which in this case was the enormous trees. And if you're really short on time, even forgo setting up the tripod and just get what you can by hand holding the camera and increasing the shutter speed and winding up the ISO or opening the aperture if you need to. So by the evening of the third day, we're at a new location. If you're on private land, clear it with the owner before putting up a drone. And luckily for me, the farmers were living close by and were happy for me to fly the drone. So on the morning of day 4, I saw the weather forecast was good, so got up at dawn. I chose not to go too far from base as we were staying at a stunning location anyway, 100 meters above the shoreline. And I could fly the drone along the beach to get shots in either direction. So often it's best to make the most of where you are, and sometimes you can use up precious premium photography time by moving around too much. So a little bit on my editing process. My goal is to rate images quickly as I work through chronologically. I use Lightroom's star rating system for this. The trick is to decide on your best images quickly, knowing that you can change the star rating as you reassess images. It also means that you concentrate your work on the images that deserve it most. I know some photographers struggle to know which are their best images straight off. My advice here is, number 1, live with an image for a few days or weeks. Your appreciation of an image will change and evolve over time, and editing is very much an iterative process. Number 2, get objective feedback. This is not from good friends and family who won't want to offend you. I find the most honest feedback I've received is by entering competitions. So to summarize, my top tips for travel photography when you're constrained by time and weather are: number 1, be prepared for weather and wind. Number 2, walk around a location to see possibilities. Number 3, prioritize shots to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Number 4, take note of promising locations to come back to. Number 5, put yourself in the image for scale or interest. And number 6, if short of time, get something in the bag. Number 7, make sure you ask for permission before flying a drone over private property. And number 8, just make the most of where you are instead of rushing off all over the place. And by the way, I would never show all of my travel photographs to friends and family. If I've done my editing properly, I can quickly narrow down to the best images and I only show these. The rule I work to is, if your audience are not asking for more when you've shown them your photos, you've shown them too many. And with that in mind, here's what I think are the best 5 images I took while traveling over the last 4 days on the East Cape. So thanks for watching. See you next time.